Hi, this is Reese from Creatacrm, and now we're well into 2019, it's March, and we're deciding to do another video for site management, which is the maintenance planning site. Now, if you probably have looked at or followed our videos, we haven't done a video for 5 months because we're really focused on the, adding documentation and adding a lot of features, and there has been a lot of features in our systems, and we wanted to just focus on documenting everything we possibly can, but now there's a massive gap there where we have to go back to videos to demonstrate what we have done, because when site management has been a very popular feature, and we're finding that you just a lot of clients just want to see an overview of it, then go back to documentation. So this particular element, we're going to do site management. You can do asset management, site management, and the key thing with this is majority of people have been doing site management in this area. So in this particular video, we're going to be teaching you how you can create a site from a company. We're going to be using our map tools that were already existing tools that can create zones from the maps that you can have. You can create service intervals, service logs, attach site instructions that are on your site themselves, and then when you create a job from the service intervals, all of that documentation goes on the job app for the guys to go to the job with the site instructions. Now there's a lot more documentations on this in the project docs section, and you can go through this, but this video will give you a nice overview of how this looks. So that's been 1.5 minutes of just going through bits and pieces in our homework, but we'll go through this video, and this should show you the power of Creator on this section of site management. Now the site management section just is in the asset management section, sites, assets, logbooks, and you go through a number of elements to run sheets and zones that you have in asset management. So what we're going to do here is just go to the company. The first step is to create a site from a company. It's quite simple. You just click on the new drop down menu when you've created a company and click on new site. It will pop up screen and copy the details of the information. Now the name of the site could be anything. For this one it's going to be the name of the actual street address itself, 12 Regent Street. And you've got other things. You can put the address in here, but I'm just going to save and view this. What you have is the ability to click on the edit button and click on the drop down menu of the addresses that are connected to that company. So you can click on any of the addresses, for example 12 Regent Street. I've just chosen that and save and viewed that. The next thing you'll probably want to do is that the map side of the fence, you need to click on the geolocations and scan and get the latitude and longitude of the database. The reason why we like to store the latitude and longitude of the database is so we can look up the whole database and zone it and map them. And the great thing about our map server is that we can cache all the maps locations in one location and look them up quite easily. So it looks like this. So we're going to refresh this a few times just to get the address. There it is, and that's the address of the location itself. So the next thing we're going to do is this is zone a region. So I'm going to click on the maps tool just above here. Now there's a couple elements here with cool entities. You've got suppliers, contacts, companies. So you can search for all your contacts and companies or suppliers, and this one is sites that we want here. So if I click on sites and said look, anyone, my current location search, it gives me all the sites. Now I want to actually zone. A lot of times people who want to do service intervals or maintenance planning, they want to zone their regions in there. So we just, at the moment, we can do better, but we've just got a more of a circular region of mapping a zone. So I'm going to just scroll in and I'm going to create a zone for you really quickly. I'm going to scroll here and move them Mr. Map. So there's a green little map there, and move it to probably Queensland. So I'm going to move it, and I'm going to search anyone around that area. So I'm going to do 200 k's from Queensland and call it Brisbane zone or zone. So there they are. So I've mapped that across, and there's all my people in that zone. Now what I can do here, you've got extra couple of buttons along here. You've got search list view, search distance, and that's good if you're actually on an app and you want to see someone who's close to you. But this one here, I want to just look up those people that match that region of that zone. So I'm going to click on the lookup section, and these are all the people that are in that scanned map area. Now what I want to do is I want to actually zone them straight away. And you could have just used obviously postcodes, but that gets a bit painful, because you want to know where they are, and you could have some places and tweet heads on that border, and it just makes it easier and quicker for you to do what you need to do. Now I'm just going to select that. You've got to select it to tag it that you can attach to a lookup. So I'm going to create a new zone. So I'm going to go Tools, and there is a Add a Zone section up here on the Site section here. And this time I'm going to create a new one for the heck of it, and it's going to pop up another screen. And I want to call them Brisbane, and that's the Brisbane zone that we're going to have. We're going to click on OK here, select that, and that's going to tag all the ones that we have selected here. So if we go back to zones in the section over here and go to Brisbane, we've now got that lookup from that map, and it's really easy for you to do that. And that's important for you to. You can even use sites as a. We've had people do sales runs as well, saying, look, here's the list of people that you should be seeing. And the great thing about this, it gives you an audience, a visit audience as well, and we've got other sections, and again you can go to the documentation to look into it, but you can have the order of where you should, how you visit those people. So at the moment it's this order here, and you can move them up and down if you want to, and it will change the audience of the different people here. But we'll focus on our particular job, as we've created a zone for those groups of people. So let's go back to the maps section here, and we're going to do another lookup. So I want to go back to the maps and do a search. I'm just going to put you on hold. Now we have added them to a zone, but next thing what I want to do is that I want to actually now create service intervals. Now I'm going to mass update service intervals, and this is important for you to grasp this section. This is for those people who will be using this section. So I'm going to do a lookup of the sites you want. I've just gone back to the map search that I have had. Select all here, and I'm going to just click on create a new service interval. So these selected items, I'm going to create a service or interval, and we're going to call it yearly checks for all the selected sites. Now what we're going to do is that the years is going to be once a year. You could do 12 months if you want to, or this could be 30 days, it's 30 days, and so forth and so forth. But you get the gist of what this does. Again, documentation is going to be helpful if you're this is an overview of a video. So if you're unsure, just go back to the documentation. So we're going to click on site. Start date is today's date, and we're going to just for this occasion we're going to go about 5 years. So let's say you got a contract for all these different sites, and we're going to go up to 2023. Now this is important. We're going to assign this to the Brisbane zone for the section. So this is a drop-down menu of your zones, but because you can have an ability to have a company on zone A, but this service interval is on zone B. So it's not as rigid. You can, for the service interval, mark it to a different zone if you want to, and that just helps you to have some freedom of variations of what you need to do. So start date the 5th, 31st, we're going to click on OK. Now this is still going to create service intervals for each one, but it doesn't do a service log. It's just created a service interval, and you can have multiple service intervals. So one site you can have a 6 monthly check, and next site only has a yearly check, and next site has a monthly check, and you can start to switch in. Some sites can have multiple service intervals at different times in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the selection, and you've got to be very careful, and you probably watch out what you do here, is that you've got to create a service log from the selected or this lookup. So I'm going to generate the logs from the service intervals that have been selected, and I'm going to go to 2024. Notice there was the end date, so I don't worry if it won't go. I think on the service interval I did it to 2023, so even if I go to 24, it won't go there at all. And I generate from all those assets in there, so it's generated those assets. Now, so what I have done in here, if I click on Waterfront Capital here, what I have done is first I create a service interval for a yearly check, but then I create a service log from 21 to 23 in here, and it created a service interval for the Brisbane zone. Now when you look at all the intervals now that you have, you've got all these different intervals, and this is an example of what I've got in front of me. I've got Sydney zone, I've got the Brisbane zone in here, and if I search for Brisbane zone, I can see the ones that I've just created for all the intervals. Now at the moment there's a count of 158 service intervals I've created, and 35 from this particular lookup or filtered. Now I'm now going to do things, or 35 from 158 that I've got. Now the next thing I can do is I can now start to filter out the particular service interval. So we're now going to filter all the service intervals that are in Brisbane zone for this month. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this little funnel button here, and it gives you all these variations of options for date selections. Now we want to look for the ones that are due, and we're going to we could select this month and just tick on that. And these are the service the logs that are due this month that are in Brisbane zone. Now what it does, it gives you number 7 that are due. Now this is for you to go through each one of these intervals that are due. So a lot of companies, when they come to our site, when we did maintenance planning, asked us to do job reoccurrences of jobs. But what we started finding when we did job intervals or job reoccurrence, it just flooded the information. So what this is giving you is, here's a 7 jobs that you need to do this month. But not all of them need to be done. What you would go through one at a time and figure out. So you'll go this one and you may call the company up and say, look, this one here is skipped because it's not needed, so we're going to skip it. So we select it once, skipped, and make a comment saying, don't wish to do this. So it's been skipped. So you can click on OK and go one by one, going through the elements. So this one here is it was completed by some other guy. It's been passed. You can do completed fail or completed pass, and clicks on OK and go from here. Now you can see how, as you've got the filters going, it gives 1 of 1 completed, 1 of 1 skipped, and 5 that are open still. So your goal is to reduce that 7 to 0 basically from this filter that you've got of all these service intervals for Brisbane zone that are due this month. So let's have another example of we're going to click on one of them, and what the other great thing about it is that you can actually go through and open that service log up and say, look, I'm going to create an email, and because he's linked to this site, I'm going to send an email, and I've created a real rough template, but it links to that person and sends an email to that person saying your site is ready, and you can send it out, and you can do each one you can send out to the sites, and what we've found is we've created a central system that is not only just a maintenance planning, it will send emails out. Now we can automate that, but what we started finding is people just prefer to send those options out really quickly. So now what happens is, like the guys, let's pretend that the maintenance guys went out and it failed. So you're going to go to status and say, look, this actually failed in here. So what you're going to do is, the maintenance planning person probably wants to set a job for one of their colleagues here. So Norfolk here, we've drag and drop the site map across. So the great thing about this is that all the instructions can be in a documentation. It still can be in a job checklist, but what we're going to do for this one is just simply create a job for this failed site, because we do have an app that we can do for maintenance planning on there. But this one is for job management, so we're going to create a job for Norfolk, and what we're going to do is we're going to create so the next thing we're going to do is create a job and schedule, and there's another module in here that we can really focus on and go down and rabbit warren on just all the features there. But we're just going to create a new job from this section here, from this logbook entry. Now this is one job. There's a few options here per site if you can have a selection of jobs that are on the site. Selection of jobs for asset, and you can have multiple, select the actual service logs and create multiple jobs. But this one here, it's going to create one job and create it, and it'll create a service link here. So the next role for the maintenance planning person is to schedule and organize who can do the job. So at the moment, its class is assigned or not assigned. That's the status in the job. We won't go into that fully. The next per job for the service maintenance person is to book it in at the moment. So here's the hours that these people work. We do have calendars, but this is a live feed through all their bookings that they have. So at the moment, Bill Johns, Bill, Bob the Builder, and Pete Pipes is all available in this section here. Nice cue there from Outlook. And so we've got here, we're going to have to book in some of these people. So we're going to actually just book in, at the moment it's the 4th to the 2nd. We're going to schedule the time. I won't go fully into this actually. I'm just going to make it, for example, the job is for 3 hours, and we're just going to really just 8:30 till 11:30. Just we're going to make it probably AM. I'll make it 9:30. Just nice. That's fine, but we've scheduled the job. Now, next thing we're going to do is give it to one of these guys. So we're going to just simply hover our mouse button over. I'm going to give it to Bob the Builder around this time here, and just select it once, and then hold the mouse button down, and select it and schedule for that time, and book it in for Bob the Builder. So it's booked in. It's his calendar. So you've got a lot of tools in here that have utilization tools. That Bob is being booked in 32% of the day. There's utilization. This is the goal for you guys here, is just to pretty much have a nice calendar entry that sees the utilization of all your staff, what's been booked, what jobs are in here, as you can link through here, and you add the books times for those people. So that's a good area here. When you book and Bob the Builder, he's booked in, and now his time has been red lighted. So you can book multiple people into the jobs. For example, I can go, Bob needs help. I'm going to give Bill Johns, he's going to come in later and booked the same job around his time. So when you go to utilization tool, it has him at 21%. So it gives you a lot of facilities to book, not just on a job, but multiple times on different days as well, and give you a nice, easy ability to do site management with job management side of the fence. Now the great thing about that now is we're going to just go to, let's say, the mobile apps, and for example, all jobs. Click on the jobs that they have. So they will have a list of all their jobs that have been scheduled for them. For example, 9:30 AM in the morning at South Brisbane. You can, for example, see the view attachments that came from here. There's a site map the guys can download. They also can upload photos on their mobile phones and add more, all the information about that side of these effects, cause and effects that they have on there, so they can do that. They have a checklist and different things that they can do, and they can pretty much just, once they have finished the job, they can just change the status to finished job and save and close it on their mobile phones, and that will then show off for the guys to then invoice or do something else as well. So that is a round circle of site management here, where you pretty much have created your sites. You've put them into zones, for example, into Brisbane region in this section here. Then you've actually created service intervals, and then you've created service logs for one person to go through each of the service logs for those months or those zones and clear them off, and then schedule a drive to your technicians, and then obviously assign it to multiple people in here. So for example, you can schedule to a group of people on different times, and then they can add on their apps can add products and services or equipment that they have had, and then they can actually sign off that they've done the job, taking photos on that particular job, all in one system. So I hope that helps you. It's a very, very long video, but that is the whole maintenance planning for site management from start to finish. And please, if there's any more information, there's documentation on our sites, or obviously give us a call and we can chat through all the particular features that we've got. Thanks, bye.